way I look at it is you could have a problem with how Joel Embiid handles him being available for games. I have a problem with it. You have every right to be upset at Joel Embiid for not being readily available in postseason play, whether it's how he prepares his body or him just never being available, and then basically him crying to the media about how the city's treating him. You could have a problem with that, but you cannot, under any circumstances, bring up family, and you cannot, under any circumstances, bring up family that have passed away.
Right.
Like, this is a no-brainer. This guy should not be allowed back in that Sixer locker room. He should not be allowed back covering that team. That's my perspective on it. I have no problem with how Embiid was upset with that situation. He tried to make a big deal out of it. He's given the guy sort of a name for himself. So hopefully this bites this guy in the rear end, this Marcus Hayes figure. This guy, screw this guy. You can't do stuff like that.
Right.
And I don't like Embiid as much as the next guy. You cannot do that. I have no problem with that. In terms of the NBA suspension, that's another situation.
Like I said, it just sounded like the reporter let his emotions get the best of him and wrote something horrible. So I think it's bad on both sides. It's bad on Embiid for pushing him. Do I blame him? I might have done something worse, Colin, honest to God.
What?
Than pushing him. But if he's going after dead family members like that and whatever,
he's not going after them, but he's making essentially, for those who don't know, he wrote an article about Embiid's availability. And the way he segued it was talking about how Embiid, and I'm going to paraphrase as best I can, how Embiid, whose deceased son, I think is named after his deceased brother. And the child passed away early on in its life. And I think there was a sense that Embiid is dedicating him playing and dedicating the season, dedicating his career to his son. And I think that was the background the reporter gave, and then segued that into, well, in order for you to make your son and brother proud, you have to be on the court, you have to be available to play and not sitting out games. That is essentially the background of what he got here. Christian Cat, do you have this for us?
Yeah. So after Embiid consistently points to the birth of his son, Arthur, as the major inflection point in his basketball career. He often says that he wants to be great to leave a legacy for the boy named after his little brother, who tragically died in an automobile accident after Embiid was in his first year as a Sixer. Next paragraph. Well, in order to be great at your job, you must show up for work first.
Oh, my God.
Embiid has been great at just the opposite. Now in his 11th season, he consistently has been in poor condition. This poor conditioning apparently seems to have delayed his debut this season. Embiid won't play in Wednesday's opener or the next two games.
Personal, Colin. That was a personal attack.
100%. And that is a despicable 2 paragraphs of journalism. He is getting that upset. He is bringing up that type of situation and essentially pointing that blame just because Embiid wasn't available for what? What was their first game of the year? The Magic? Embiid is not available for that, for the Nets? Whoever the hell they played, he's not available for that, and that's the type of segue you bring. Take that guy's license away. Don't let him cover Philly sports. All those Philly owners are connected. I would banish that guy from covering sports in Philadelphia.
Don't worry. Read these other headlines. Jalen Hurts saves Nick Sirianni's bacon in a messy Eagles win over the Jags.
That's fair, though. That's true.
But hey, listen.
That one works.
Listen.
That's fine with me. I have no problem with that. That is a harmless comparison, a harmless analogy.
Yeah, well, unless like Nick Sirianni has a pig brother or something.
Nonetheless, I wanted to point out he ain't getting banned. But the worst part about this is it makes Embiid be the bad guy now. Like, obviously, I agree with you. It deserves a push or whatever the hell the altercation was. But Embiid's made out to be the bad guy because, the
NBA punished him.
Right.
And I don't know, there's rules with this. The athlete is paid so much money. In a lot of ways, they have to take the high road, and they have to be the bigger man in that situation. But screw that. Once family gets involved, I don't think taking the high road, despite being a multi-million-dollar athlete, I don't think that really applies because in a lot of ways, they're the reporters and people like us, essentially,
right, can
say stuff without repercussion. There's lines and boundaries that you cannot cross, and that being a very strong piece of it. So, and this is coming from people in media that say stuff. We're going to be out of line here and there, but it's a matter of making sure that you use the form that we are lucky enough to have in order to adequately give our thoughts. Yeah, you could be funny. Yeah, you could overreact. Yeah, you could be negative in a sort of sense. But you cannot bring and cross boundaries like that. That is completely out of line.
So he should be suspended as well.
Who? The reporter? Yeah, he should be banished.
So Embiid suspended without pay. So you asked at the start of this, how do they enforce that because of the already ongoing investigation in Joel Embiid into whether or not his injury is legitimate and all that, resting games, load management. The way you do it is the NBA decides which games he's resting, and they don't tell the Sixers until an hour before tickoff.
So that's how that works. Okay, that's interesting.
Wait, no, that's not how it works. No, that's how I'm saying it should work.
Okay. I was like, that's very good. I was surprised that Adam Silver making a good move there.
Took a bow on that one.
Yeah, I see. I'm wondering, like, Embiid's hurt, quote unquote. Does he the next 3 games? Do they wait till he's healthy? I don't really know the logistics with that, but in terms of if you want to make them feel it, I mean, wait till he's off the injury report and then it starts. And maybe that's how it goes. They have to wait till he's off the injury report.
To Seacat's point, Embiid will lose $1 million in pay during the suspension.
I think he would say that is worth it.
That's worth it, and that's pocket change to him. So I'm not for somebody,
pocket change, Seacat, $1 million. Could you use $1 million, Seacat? $1 million? Should you use it?
If I was an NBA Supermax player, no, I could not use that $1 million. It's worth making a point.
I have a problem with how that report. Marcus Hayes, I believe his name is.
Correct, it is.
For the Philadelphia Inquirer. Screw that guy.
Is he a phony?
I mean, he's worse than that. He's that is a boundary that you do not cross.
Seacat.
And I hated how that's phrased.
We're serious on this show.
Yeah, I don't know how you type that out and it gets past the editor and all that.
That's
how do you
a good
not
point.
feel weird saying
that's
that?
A good point.
Because I may make extremely
we're in the heat of the moment
all the time,
yeah.
But that just felt so weird. It's different to have something slip out that was a joke that got taken the wrong way. No, that was typed out. It was revised. It possibly was edited, and it made it through.
He could have left out that entire first paragraph, and it would have been okay.
Yeah,
maybe they're trying. Maybe hang on,
you
guys.
don't need to bring up any of that, and all you got to do is talk about it. How he thinks it's a joke. How he doesn't show up for work. That is a fine argument.
I could argue this is exactly what those people wanted over at the Philadelphia Beacon. Who the hell does he work for? But I could argue this is exactly what they wanted. They're in the news. People are talking about it. They're looking him up. And I mean,
there's levels to it. All press is good press. There's levels to it. Maybe this is teetering on the line of negative, but I understand the point.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they got already what they wanted out of it. I don't agree with it, but
boy, that's as bad as it gets. What's that?
And we're a week removed, rather. Trayvon Diggs from the Cowboys confronted a reporter because the reporter said something bad about his play. It's like
that's different.
Exactly. That's the thing where athletes and reporters have always had that rocky relationship. And sometimes reporters are so smug and they think that they own the place. And they think they are owed this respect that can only be given to the media. And sometimes the players want to fight back wrongfully. And sometimes they do it rightfully. And Embiid did it rightfully.
Yeah, from one perspective, once you make the amount of money you make and you sign that contract, part of that contract is you are subject to criticism and you are subject to public criticism. It does not include that you and your family are subject to said criticism. I know there's levels to this, but there's boundaries and unwritten rules that should not be crossed. That was one of them. So that is our take on what happened with Joel Embiid. He is suspended 3 games without pay. Will lose $1 million whenever that starts, whenever that's going to end. The Sixers are 1-5. One of the worst teams in the NBA. What an underpick on my part. We close
we're doing the
How about this?
now?
Hang on.